Damn,
Good morning.
you got the gavel. Morning.
Get this started.
Yeah, new judge in town.
We'll start off with the prayer. Lord, we thank you for another day and another opportunity to make positive changes. This morning, we lift up in prayer all those affected by the heartbreaking floods in Kerr County. Although we may feel helpless from afar, we trust in the power of prayer and know that it is the most powerful thing that we can offer at this time. We pray for every individual and family impacted by this tragedy. Lord, we ask you to comfort those who are grieving, give strength to those that are still searching for hope. And we ask you to surround them with peace that only you can provide. We thank you for the miracles that have already taken place in the recovery process, and for the lives that have been saved so far, and for the communities coming together and the resilience of the human spirit. We also lift up every first responder, every volunteer, and every helper who has given their time and their heart to serve others during this crisis. Lord, we ask you to bless them and protect them. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, as we call this meeting to order, we're going to open it up to citizens' communication. Before we start off with folks coming up here, I'd like to make a comment based on conversations that we've had. Commissioner Sexton has come up with the idea of Victoria County coming together and raising funds to send to the folks in Kerr County. So if you have it in your heart and you want to donate, contact Commissioner Sexton or Ashley at our county judge's office. They'll take care of those donations. We'll gather those together and send them as a group as Victoria County.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank those that worked over this 4th of July weekend while the rest of us were allowed to enjoy the celebration. I'd like to send that out to the Road and Bridge Precinct 3 guys that worked, the Victoria County Sheriff's Office for providing additional officers and support out at Patriot Park, and for the Quail Creek Volunteer Fire Department, the units and the personnel that they supplied to make sure that everyone was safe out there. Thank all of you.
How was that event?
It was, it was uneventful, which was good.
That's always good. That is always good.
An uneventful event is a good event.
Exactly. All right, good stuff.
Yeah, backing up what Commissioner Garcia said, yeah, we'd really like to try to show Kerr County that Victoria County cares. And if everybody can work together, and we'd appreciate it. And then once we get some funds together, I'm going to talk with Rick and see where they could be best utilized. So thank you all. Hope everybody can help out.
Okay, at this time, I think, Rick, do you have something you want to talk about?
Other folks need to go first.
Okay.
Mr. Vondro?
Mr. Vonro?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Bondra. I live at 2107 North Bend, Jordan. I was just wondering if the fire department could send some people out to help them or have some volunteers. I see one of those doogie boats. I think the DPS owns that. If they could, look for people and stuff. And, I know money helps, but they need like boots on the ground right now and stuff. And maybe someone can help them, maybe a financially secure person that's retired, that's bored, that don't have nothing to do, could go over there and stuff. I'd appreciate it. And want to thank Animal Care Services for taking care of packs of dogs at Christ Kitchen and Queen City Park. There's like dozens of dogs all over the place, and a lot of people live at Queen City Park and Christ Kitchen. They live in tents, and they just have packs of dogs, and you know, they can't afford to take care of themselves, but they have to have a dog, and they don't have rabies shots or heartworm pills or food or anything, and I just wish something could be done about that. You know, they're not getting rid of their dogs, and I think only the government can help, but I appreciate Kenneth Sexton for getting the funds to help them in Kerrville and the surrounding areas. Thanks, and have a good morning.
Thank you.
sir.
Thanks, Monroe.
Kenneth?
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
All right, Rick?
Commissioner.
We also want to mention, please keep Mark Sloat in y'all's prayers and thoughts.
It's true.
He actually had some damage happen, not in Kerrville, but in Leander, which is in Travis and Williamson County. From kind of that same system, they had some major flooding out there, and where he used to live and where his kids are.
Yeah,
Yes, good point. Thank you for that, Paige.
thank you, Paige. Now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn.
You can talk.
Good morning, Commissioners and Judge Pro Tem. Thank you for the very thoughtful blessing and indicating our thoughts and prayers to the folks within the Central Texas region
Right.
itself on how traumatic this incident has been. So we do have a couple slides. Give me some latitude here. I know that we usually don't do a lot of back and forth during citizen communication, and we usually try to keep it pretty short, but wanted to kind of bring everybody up to speed on what we know. And our staff was working throughout the event from 4th of July morning all the way through until last night and even this morning. So can you go forward one? So this is what actually happened up in the Hill Country area, and so it's very important for us to understand that I'm going to try to just stay with the data and what the data is that we have right now, and so and try to steer away from any type of misinformation and misleading information that might be out there. But the rainfall totals came in. Some areas experienced 8 to 12 inches of rainfalls within less than 6 hours. Most of what we see in the headwaters of the Hunt area, which is just north of Kerrville, Ingram, Comfort area, received quite a bit of rain within matters of hours. Very similar to other events that have transpired throughout the history of that area. The channelization of that area is very unique to its floodplain, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But this took place in the early morning hours of July 4th with some warnings coming out beforehand. There were some issuance of warnings from the National Weather Service, but most, as we all know, people were asleep in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, when most of the water started really gathering its intensity and speed and just the volume coming down the river. So you go to the next one. So the Guadalupe River in Kerrville, this is very important for us to see this graph. And so we have a little note at the very bottom here. But the gauge read at 1.73 feet at 3:45 in the morning and 23 feet, so just shy of 24 feet at 4:45.
Wow.
And so you're talking within an hour to hour and a half, a massive amount of water coming down the Guadalupe River in that area. And so to give you a kind of a conceptualization of what that means, 21.67 foot rise. So just think of about a 2-story house, which is roughly about 20 to 24 foot. And that's kind of just going to give you a kind of a visual within your mind on how much water, how fast and rapid and intensification that it was occurring within the actual Guadalupe River in those areas. So, and then you can see just, a day or two later, how fast it dropped off. But there was a massive amount of water that intensified very quick in a very short time period. Go to the next one, please. So here's what we know. In Canyon Lake, one of the first calls that we had was to the Canyon Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, and Canyon Reservoir itself on what was the capacity at the lake at that time. And so this is the updated as of this morning. Pool elevation is 888 feet, and it's currently right now at 62% full. When we started the event, 1st of July, 4th morning, we were at 47% full. And so that means they had a lot of capacity to take on. And so that was one of the first calls we made, was to the Corps of Engineers and also the Canyon Reservoir to find out what kind of capacity you had, because as we saw the headwaters that were occurring in the Guadalupe River and Kerrville, Hunt area, we knew that this lake specifically was designed for reservoir capacity for downstream flooding, and it did its job. As tragic as the event was in the north, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that because it was pure tragedy, Canyon Reservoir did its job. It was able to maintain and take in the capacity of water. And as of this morning, we're at 62% full on that that reservoir. And we will continue to monitor that as we move throughout. Obviously, as we moved into the day of 4th of July and even the 5th of July, we started seeing rainfalls that were occurring and flash flooding that was occurring south of the dam between the Canyon Reservoir, which is just north of New Braunfels and Sattler area, all the way to ours. And so as information started gathering, and we were seeing just the devastation that was coming out of there, obviously there was some reaction to us, there's a reaction to our public, there's information that is just being driven by social media, and even the media platforms are out there, and even national news attention. And so we hear the word Guadalupe River flooding, we hear 22 feet water, 23 feet water, 24 foot water, and see the devastation of the life lost. It obviously brings some attention to us. And so I will assure you that our office was on those calls. We were in coordination with our state and regional partners to understand was there going to be any direct impacts to Victoria related to this very specific event that occurred within those morning hours. You go to the next one, please. So our response was just that we worked with West Gulf River Forecast. I cannot tell you how important it is for us to work with those folks as they take in the data as the river is rising and flooding, local rainfall events. West Gulf River Forecast starts putting all that into their modeling system. And they usually do a fairly substantial job. They can really narrow it down to where we're going to be at within the next couple of days on flooding that may occur in our river, because we are at the end of the river basin. We're waiting for that water to come down to us.
Right.
And so we're looking closely with them and looking at their estimates on forecasting. So we provide situational updates. I think many of y'all were probably on that. Commissioners, city council members, policy and command were on there. We had developed what we call an instant action plan, or a sit rep, the very next day. Really started sharing that information. And then obviously our heavy load was on our staff was to really try to get information out through the social media platforms. People were engaged, and we see this all the time. And so as our citizens are engaged, they're wanting information. And sometimes that information is misleading, and sometimes it's wrong. And we were trying to correct things as we were trying to move forward with what we had available to us the best we could. So we continue to develop those things and also look at our state and regional partners and supportive natures to them as well. And so, go to the next one real quick. So we're doing our best to stay informed. And this is one of the key elements I want to really touch on here. For citizens, it is so important for us to arm ourselves with the appropriate information. There's a lot of ways that we can do this. And one of the ways that we have here in Victoria is what we call the Code Red system. Code Red is our emergency communications network that we can actually reach out to citizens when there's an instance of an event that is occurring that causes for health and safety measures to be implemented, the life-saving measures. It's also important for all of us to look at our phones, and I employ all of us to do this today. Go into your phones and your notification settings, and please scroll down to the bottom and look, and Jenna has highlighted in our graphic here where you have the Amber Alerts, emergency alerts, and public warnings, and make sure that those things are turned on. I cannot tell you how important that is. If those buttons are turned on when there is what we call a wireless emergency alert that is put out, whether it's a flood warning or tornado warning, whatever it may be, those are going to come to your phone because it's activated by that mechanism. And that was federally put into law a couple years ago. And so, but many of us, as I talked about even about a week ago when I was up here last, many of us have turned those off. We get tired of having the notifications come in the middle of the night. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you we need to have those notifications come in the middle of the night. Sometimes they're life-saving. So we need to make sure that we all go in and look at our WIA settings and make sure we turn them on. And then also, if you're out traveling, follow the social media sites of the areas that you're going to. Also looking at your National Weather Service, and just be an informed citizen so that you can take actions on your own to be better prepared. You go to the next one. How you can help. We get a lot of this, and I'm going to go back here in a few minutes to a different slide because I want to touch on something. But how can you help? One of the biggest things we're asking people is don't self-deploy. We have talked to our partners at TDM and the state and federal regional partners that are there. There is a lot of quote-unquote boots on the ground in Kerr County and in the Central Texas region. What they need is support. What they need is professionals that are there to do the jobs, and as they seek out the resources they need, they will reach out to us. We've pushed up a lot of information to them related to people in our community that are wanting to help, but we ask people don't self-deploy in what we call self-dispatch. And so I applaud Sheriff Marr and Chief Franklin. We had a long conversation Saturday afternoon. They were ready to go. They have apparatuses and teams are ready to respond to Kerr County. They did the same thing. They talked to the sheriff up there. The sheriff said, give me a little bit of time. We have a lot of resources here now, but we may need it on 3, 4, 5 weeks out. When our folks are coming to the point where they are just exhausted and tired because the emotional toll that is taken on these people is great right now. So I applaud Sheriff Marr and Chief Franklin for saying, you know what, let's stand by. Let's pump the brakes just a little bit, and let's go and support these people when they need the support, which may be a couple weeks out. Sometimes as a first responder, that's hard to do. We want to be the first ones in. We want to be there to to be part of the operations and say, this is the best thing I can do as a subject matter expert, and be there to help respond. But sometimes we have to take a step back and say, you know what, let the other people do their jobs and let us come back in on the follow-up weeks.
Have we posted this slide yet?
We are.
You are?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
And so the next piece on that slide is a Kerrville flood response. And so this is directly from the city of Kerrville. That is their flood response, and we'll be able to make this posted online as well. We have it on our social media sites. We want to make sure that people stay in tune to those. And so there's a lot of efforts to gather donations, send financial donations. What we want to do is focus in on that specific page for the Kerrville flood resources, to whereas people need to and want to reach into their pockets, reach into their hearts to say, this is how I want to respond, this is what we want to do. We'll make another quick comment. It's so important for us to continue to give to our local and regional and state affiliated groups that we do on a normal basis. Don't stop that giving, because as you give to the Salvation Army, American Red Cross, Food Bank of Golden Crescent, Christ Kitchen, those things have a trickle-down effect because they're able to take those resources and be able to extend those over. So continue to do just that and allow that as we have these events that unfold in our region and within our state, that we continue to have that compassionate heart to give. And so it's really important for us to remember that. So we're going to leave that screen up there for a little while, and we'll also post it to our social media sites as well. Go to the next one, please. Try and make this pretty quick. What do we know now? And so this is something that we've had to deal with last night quite a bit, and throughout the last couple of days. We have been posting as much as we can, where we get a lot of people asking us, well, how come emergency management is so involved in social media? Because we can't outrun this thing. And I'm speaking to the choir up here. You folks are getting calls after calls after calls of information that's coming in. When we see a tragedy occur on the Guadalupe River, obviously there is some reaction to that when we have the event that may be folding on the Guadalupe River, and people don't quite understand that there's a reservoir between us. And so we need to look at that very closely. So got up there the latest graphics as in this morning for the Guadalupe River for Victoria, going into action stage at, I don't have my glasses on so I can't read it, 16.4, and then also in Guadalupe River down in Bloomington. There's some misleading information about that, and there's something our office will be working on the next couple of weeks as well. The river gauge in Bloomington is not actually in Bloomington. If many of you know, it's on the west side of the Barge Canal. And so even in our historic flooding in 1998, when we reached 34.04 feet of water here in Victoria, it did not breach the Barge Canal at the Bloomington gauge. And so we need to remind ourselves that. And so that is on the other side of the Barge Canal. The barge system acts as a levee system, and it allows the Guadalupe River to do what it normally does, which is go into the floodplain to the west of the Barge Canal. And so we're going to work with the National Weather Service West Gulf River Forecast and possibly rename that so we can then rename the area not so much associated to the city of Bloomington, because it doesn't have a direct impact on them. And so we'll watch that closely. One of the efforts that we also have to do is combat our local partners around us. City of Goliad last night in emergency management decided they were going to post something about the Guadalupe River flood warning for Victoria, which had a toppling effect in our social media platforms and really, really affected how we do our business. Not that we were not putting out the information, we were putting out the information, but we also understand that a minor flooding, talking to the Commissioner Danny Garcia, that is in that area, we understand what minor means for that area. Once again, it's not going to affect the residents, but since we're so in tune to the information that's out there right now, it becomes very imperative that we make sure that we put out the right information at the right time so people are fully informed and aware. Thank each and one of you. As you were seeing the postings that were going on, y'all were all very fact-based. You were taking the photos from what we had going out. You were looking at the websites that we were sending you, the links, and you were snapping those photos and saying, here's the accurate information. And most of the time, most of you weren't even making a comment. You were just putting out the information, and thank you for doing that. There was a lot of conversations about the Coletta Reservoir. Myself and Commissioner Martin had several conversations about that as well. Coletta Reservoir does not connect into the Guadalupe River, and trust me when I tell you, we are in operational coordination with those folks nonstop.
Okay.
And I believe that the accountability you hold for my office and the office of Victoria Emergency Management, we do a pretty good job on trying to make sure we stay in coordination.
Right.
Probably sometimes a little too much. So,
No, that's never too much.
yeah. So can you do the next one real quick? Yeah. So there, I'm going to leave that screen up there as well. So if you folks can help us get that information out, once again, I'm going to ask that people do not self-deploy. Talk to your local partners that are out there, talk to regional partners, and try to figure out the way you want to give through the appropriate measures. Follow the City of Kerrville's websites, follow Kerr County's websites. Make sure that you're connecting with them. This is going to be in for the long haul. We are going to be supportive to that community for months on end, and that there's going to be a lot of things that are being changing. And so as we appreciate the people wanting to respond now, also remember that there's going to be a time and a need for us to respond accordingly as well. So with all that said, I know it took quite a bit of time. I appreciate the latitude y'all gave to me, but I'm open for conversations if you need to have them.
I just want to say thank you, Rick, to you and your staff
Yep.
for working through the weekend and providing that accurate information as you and I talked multiple times and exchanged many text messages over the weekend. And I appreciate that because I'm able to take that accurate information and transfer that out on social media and some direct phone calls
Right.
to concerned constituents. So thank you very much to you and all of your staff that worked through the weekend to provide that information. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, they did a great job. It helped me out on some phone calls because getting the notifications from you and your staff about the current, I guess, the level of Canyon Lake, realizing it was below 50% before all this took place. I was able to relay that information to people, trying to assuage some of their fears, saying, look, this area has a lot of room to take a lot of water. So we're fortunate for that.
I'm very fortunate that we have John Johnson here with us. We also have Ken Gill at the City of Victoria, the city manager and his team, staff there. We all understand the floodplain fairly well, and so Avery's going to have to bring himself up to speed pretty quick as to be a new John. But John is a wealth of information, and he's one of the first calls we had on 4th of July morning to understand where we're thinking the right things. And sure enough, once again, reminder that the river basin in the hill country is quite a bit different than it is here. A very steep channelization with a lot of runoff streams, a lot of tributaries coming into a very specific location. Whereas down here, as you get to the lower basin, which is why we're called the lower basin, it fans out and widens out, which means we can take on quite a bit of water. And our channelization is not as steep, so flash flooding usually is not going to occur in our Guadalupe River as often as something like that does. So don't get those confused with aerial flash flooding that we had a couple of weeks ago on a Thursday when we have 4, 5, 6 inches and even untold amounts out in Bloomington within a couple of hours. And so, okay.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks for being by your phone the whole weekend, too. Appreciate that. All right, anybody else? If not, we'll move on to item 4, is to consider the approval of minutes and take appropriate action.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is to consider approval of accounts payable and take appropriate action.
Accounts payable for July 7th, 2025 are $838,905.86. Supplemental payments are $124,485.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 6 is to receive monthly and quarterly reports from the various departments and take appropriate action.
Good morning. Today we have monthly reports from the county clerk, county tax assessor collector, county auditor, sheriff, fire marshal, justices of the peace precincts numbers 1, 2, and 4, constables precincts numbers 2 and 3, and pretrial services.
Move to receive.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is to consider approval of bond forfeiture releases and take appropriate action.
We have none this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 8 is to consider approval of Citizens Medical Center interim vendor payments and take appropriate action. We have interim vendor payment report dated July 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $132,657.67, and the ACH report dated July 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $2,388,157.49.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9 is to consider approval of Best Friends Animal Society Paws in the Field Challenge Grant and take appropriate action. Robin will be speaking on behalf of Mark today.
Yes, so Mark has been doing a wonderful job. We're here on the regular. We have received another grant in the amount of $1,000 to help return lost pets to their homes, reunite pets with their families, and in general, saving animals' lives. So we're just asking you to approve this today.
Thank you, Robin. Need a motion?
Approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 is to consider approval of University of North Texas Memorandum of Understanding related to buyout open space property research and take appropriate action.
So recently, Rick and myself had an online meeting with some individuals from the University of North Texas. They're doing some research for open space, which is basically what a green space that you have when you do FEMA buyouts, et cetera.
Okay.
So environmental benefits, things of that nature. And so it is nothing that will directly affect us, doesn't cost us any money, may be of benefit depending upon the information that their study comes up with. So we just wanted to make sure that we had an agreement with them to formalize their ability to go onto these properties, et cetera, to do their research if needed.
Okay.
Thank you, Robin.
Sounds good.
Great. All right, need a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is to consider approval of plat exemption request from Garland R. Smith Jr. and Anna M. Smith at 1774 Reineke Road, located in Precinct 2, Victoria County, Texas, and take appropriate action. Commissioner Ort?
For this, I'll defer to Avery.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Judge Pro Tem and Commissioners. So this plat exemption was reviewed by county staff and found that the exemption complies with Section 1C3 of Victoria's County Development Standards Manual that's provided by Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 232, Section 15. That exemption is to allow for an exemption when two adjacent landowners adjust or change property lines and the same number of tracts then result. So it's our recommendation that the court approve this request for plat exemption under the allowed exemption of that Section 1C3 of our Development Standards Manual, and that property is subject to the following conditions. They shall secure and verify 911 addresses for tracts with Golden Crescent Regional Planning Commission. No future tracts created shall be less than 1 acre, excluding easements. All created revised tracts, new property deeds, and ingress-egress easements must be created and filed with the county clerk's public records. Further subdivision of tracts shall comply with the requirements of the effective published version of the Development Standards Manual at the time of that future subdivision. Each tract will have its own water well and on-site sanitary sewer facility, basically a septic system, and each tract shall have public right-of-way frontage or access to a public right-of-way through an egress easement with those following requirements.
All right. Well, thank you, Avery. Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 is to consider the following regarding fiscal year 2025 and 26 Texas Association of Counties Risk Management Pool Property Insurance Coverage and take appropriate action. Yanni?
Morning, Yanni.
Judge Pro Tem, Commissioners, as you know, this is a kind of an annual renewal for property insurance. Got Lisa and Craig here with TAP to answer any questions for you. But year over year, we're seeing about a 10% increase in premiums. No major changes, but if you recall, last year, we did add 2 new buildings, I believe, and some new equipment. So, but if you have any questions, Lisa can answer.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I did just want to share some information on the renewal with you this year. As Gianni said, your total insured values increased by $3 million. You're looking at a 10% renewal. And I want to let you all know this is the best renewal I've ever had the opportunity to deliver to you. So, and the best renewal I've done this year. So I'm very happy to be here and be part of it. When she asked me to come, I said, absolutely, I'll be happy to be there.
You probably say that to all of everybody,
Yeah.
though.
No, sir.
Say that to all the counties, yeah.
I was pretty excited. I was like, absolutely, I'll be happy to do this one.
Thank you, Lisa.
We appreciate you being part of the risk management pool. Also, I want to take the opportunity to introduce Craig Johnson. He is going to be your new law enforcement consultant that will be working with the sheriff's office.
come up and say hello.
Morning, Craig.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having us, and I will just back up what Lisa was saying. No, not everybody gets that type of commitment, so my hat's off to you and the county. But I'm happy to be associated with TAC, happy to be serving this region in Victoria County, and look forward to working with the sheriff and the chief and any staff that we need to on anything we can help with. And just a little bit of a side note, it's very commendable that your sheriff's office was ready to go at a moment's notice. That's also unfortunately not common throughout the state, but your sheriff's office here represents very well. I'm also president of the Texas Chief Deputies Association, and let me tell you, they represent the county well on multiple fronts. So just wanted to share that aside with you.
Well, we're proud of them. We're definitely proud of them too, because at the end of the day, you never know when we're going to need the help. So it's always best to lend a helping hand where you can.
And I'll back that up, that we do have a great sheriff's office.
We do.
Thank you.
Yanni, is the Master Gardeners building on here? That's what I've been looking for.
But I can check it. for
That was
you.
that was a new ad.
At the
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
airport.
Okay, I
We
can check that.
can double
I've
check
been
that.
scrolling through here, I couldn't find it, okay.
Okay.
Do we need to wait until we found that out
We can go ahead and
Is that
approve it.
gonna
If it's
affect-
not on there, we can always add it.
Yeah,
We
you
do
can add
approve
it.
so we can add it? It's not going to be an
So how do we make that motion?
You can approve the renewal.
We can
with-
approve this.
With,
Pending review?
no,
No.
just approve it as is.
Okay.
With the understanding that if the Master Gardeners building is not included, we will add it.
Okay, but I'm assuming, though, if it's not on there and we do add it, it's not going to change the cost.
Correct.
I would have to, before we vote on that, we have to have that assumption right away.
Correct.
So-
That's
okay.
correct. It will not change the cost.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't see it unless I'm just overlooking.
Well,
But that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's no further action, that's fine. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lisa
Thank you very
Gray.
much.
All right, item 13 is to consider authorization to advertise requests for proposals, self-funded plan administration and reinsurance for group medical plan, and take appropriate action. You're still up, Gianni.
It's just me, yeah.
Yep.
We've been working with Amanda. She's been really great in coordinating with Walker and Associates to get this wrapped up and finalized. But what we have in front of you is the notice to advertise, so the notice itself that will get published in the newspaper and put out. Now, each respondent will have to answer some questionnaires and go through a review to make sure they're a qualified TPA
Right.
before they receive the full packet. So there's sort of like a screening of sorts. It's not just kind of released to everyone and anyone.
Right.
But the timeline is on the memo that I provided to you. So the first advertisement will be this coming Sunday on the 13th, and then it will be advertised again on the 20th. It will stay open until August 20th. Is that correct? August 7th, I apologize.
Okay.
August 7th is the deadline for submitting proposals, which leaves us taking it to the insurance committee and evaluating in September and coming back to the court for an award at the end of September
Yeah.
for the 26 plan year.
Well, I applaud you guys getting this together. Gianni and I are both on the insurance committee and just felt it'd be good to do our due diligence. It'd been quite a while since we've gone out for bid for the health plan, the medical plan, and since we're self-funded, it's really important. So this is a big step, and hopefully we can have a good outcome. So thank you for all your work on this, Gianni.
Amanda.
Thank you, Gianni and Amanda. Appreciate it.
Oh, Amanda as well. I'm sorry, Amanda. Did not mean any slight there.
Okay,
Move for approval.
need a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14 is to consider the following regarding the request for proposals for the Health Department's spray truck building project and take appropriate action. I guess, Avery, were you taking care of this one?
Sure, yes, sir. So this is a follow-up to, I believe, last week's agenda item memo for the spray truck building. This is simply to accept the executed bonds that were missing from the last set of documentation, and then reject all of the unawarded proposals.
Okay. Easy
All right.
enough.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15 is to consider approval of the purchase of a John Deere skid steer loader with accessories in the amount of $113,800 from the airport fund balance through Sourcewell contract number 011723-JDC for the Victoria Regional Airport and take appropriate action. Lenny?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This is a piece of equipment that we've been looking to buy for a long time, and we put money away to be able to afford. We got a lot of areas in the airfield where the grass has grown above the height of the concrete, and that collects water, and it slowly floods some parts of taxiways and runways. So we need to have the piece of equipment to scrape those areas, and also in other areas where, you know, the water is supposed to run easily, but those areas are way too high. You know, it's a process that it probably takes us a long period of time, going little by little, but this is the right piece of equipment. We also have areas around our fence on the back side of the airport where we have a lot of mesquite, and the John Deere has an attachment to cut some of those mesquites and kind of protect the fence area on our airport. So overall, it will be a multi-use type of piece of equipment for us at the airport, and this is the right time for us to go ahead and procure this piece of equipment.
Thank you, Lenny. Need a motion?
Lenny, y'all gonna, I've got a lot of experience running skid steers. I mean, y'all gonna have some type of training going with this? This is not a piece of equipment you just get in and take off on.
Correct.
I mean, there's gonna be need to be a level of training with this at somewhere.
Yeah, John Deere is going to provide that for
Good.
us until we feel
They are.
comfortable.
Good.
Okay.
It's a pretty advanced piece of machine that almost everything that comes, it's
Sure.
has a video and self-explanatory type of steps in order for them to utilize it. But yes, we would send a couple of our guys to, before we even get it delivered, to fill it.
Right.
Especially with all the accessories you got that you're gonna be getting.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
a lot of
they're
stuff.
built in with loads of safety features. It's just the operational side of it.
Yeah.
People need to know what they're doing.
Yep.
Good point.
You can take the corner of a building out with one pretty easy.
You talking from experience or?
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
All right.
Oh, nothing.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. I did that
Hold on,
yesterday.
one up your
My
ass.
yard, I moved my AC unit because I hit it too far.
Give me a call. Give me a call. I got the equipment.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me?
Motion
Oh,
carries. Thank you,
Thank you,
Lenny.
Jim.
Thank you, Julie.
Oh, yeah.
All right, item
I wrote
16
the hell out of them.
is to approve, consider approval, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one here. Consider approval of a detention and residential contract between the Victoria Regional Juvenile Justice Center and Johnson County and take appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17 is to consider approval of resolution number 2025-057. And this is for a road donation valued at $814.96 from Tino Flores at 15 Lee Marshall Drive, Victoria County, Texas, in Precinct 3, and take appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. 18 is to consider approval of the following 2025 budget amendments and take appropriate action. A, general fund, various departments, revenues and expenditures. B, emergency management expenditures. C is road and bridge precinct 3 expenditures. D is national school lunch program expenditures. E, general fund, the sheriff's office expenditures. F, airport fund expenditures. G, capital projects fund expenditures.
Move to approve A through G.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
All right, and that takes care of it for today. Again, before we adjourn, just want to remind all the employees, all the departments, anyone that wishes to donate money or items. Commissioner, are we just donating money? Is
Just
that-
money?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gift cards?
Well, we don't know yet. We'll, like I said,
Yeah, I
I was gonna
think
get up
we-
with Rick. I know he listed a few places up there.
Yeah. There may
that,
be some websites they can go to if they want to do, I mean, I want them to get it out to the public. I mean, what we're doing here is great, and I'm definitely going to contribute to it, but I definitely want him to get that list out there, because if you want to go donate something here or there, you have the ability to do it. I'm glad there is a compiled list, because those folks up there definitely do need help.
Well, just get with Commissioner Sexton or Ashley at the county judge's office for any donations that you would like to make. Again, thank you for being here today, and that takes us to the end. Meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.